Hello, this is Dave from cheapbooks.com. I am playing Cities in Motion 2. This is my second city, and what you are looking at right now is my coverage area. I believe this is going to be video number 10. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the gaps for some of the areas that don't have coverage. For example, right here you got this little tiny neighborhood that doesn't have any coverage. And filling in the gaps is going to be to access these neighborhoods and at the same time try to connect them as close as possible to the existing metro system and the monorail system. We have some neighborhoods that are very isolated, such as these over here, and then we've got some that are along the boulevards. And in fact, there's a lot that are along the boulevards. And the boulevards are the ones that have the space in the middle. And because we have a lot of buildings along the boulevard, I've decided that I'm going to make a tram. And based on the size of this half, we're going to be doing it, I will highlight the area. We're going to be doing it over here. Is it working? On this road, and the road that's highlighted in green, going all the way down here and around this other side. So it's going to be basically what you see in the center of the screen. I'm going to build a complete loop around it. So the first thing I'm going to do is lay down some tram track. And it's going to be going in both directions. And you want to do it in both directions. And the reason why is because if you don't, then when a person goes to work and then back, everybody that uses the tram has to go all the way around in a complete circle. For example, if you were to go one block and it's only in one direction, the only way to get back home is to go all the way around the entire loop, or to find another transit service which might not be available. So if you go in both directions, you don't have to do that. The people will only go as far as they need to, and they'll take the opposite direction to get back home. So you'll notice that I am laying the track from one road segment to the next. You cannot skip over road segments. You have to do each one adjoining each other, and it will automatically fill in through the intersections. If you skip an intersection, if you skip a road segment, then it won't automatically fill in the intersection. So it's one of the things you have to be aware of. The best thing to do, the easiest way to lay track, is to start at one point, start laying continuously until you loop around the other end. Okay, so over here we're going to take a sharp turn. See a lot of people walking over there. And I might not connect to every neighborhood. I might only connect to the places that need coverage. I haven't really decided yet. My main concern is to make sure that these people get to the rest of the transit system. It is going to be the metro system that moves the most people and moves them quickly. Trams are great and everything, but those metro trains can carry a lot of people. They carry like 150 passengers. One thing I don't like about the game is that I think that the number of passengers that the vehicles carry is a little bit unrealistic. The trams should be carrying more passengers than they say they do. And the same might be true with some of the buses also. And maybe even with the trains. So it's not 100% accurate. There's a lot of traffic. So after you lay the track down, and keep in mind I am laying two rails down at the same time, you do have to build a depot and stops. And even though I'm putting the track in the middle of the boulevard, you can actually put the track on any paved surface you want to. In fact, you can connect to the metro and the trams can ride on the metro. That's another feature of the game. And there are times when you will want to use other lanes of the road. For example, if you have a lot of metro, if you've got a lot of trams running into the same place, you might have to have some of them use the other lanes of the road in order to bypass congestion. Almost all the way around. Shouldn't have that much further to go. And then I will pick a location for my tram depot. So it looks like this is the complete circuit. I usually purchase the largest depot. You could put it just about anywhere. One trick is to put it across the river and send a road across the river so that the tram can queue up on the road. But I think it's going to make sense to put them somewhere in this area, perhaps under a bridge, because it's not developed yet over here. So I could easily put this right here, for example, right here on this road. I would take a regular road, such as the bus-only road, connect it from this intersection to around... That's weird because it made a road. Okay, so I will build it. Let's say something like this. And then I build my tram depot. Oh, it didn't connect. Okay, it will. Tram depot like so. And then I'm going to build the track, which is right here, double lane, start at the tram depot, go on to the bus-only road, and then I will go into here, it looks like it... Oh, that's really weird. It built it right in the center. That was completely unexpected. That maybe this road is not compatible with the tram. Okay, so this is a weird thing, because this road has like a center lane or... Oh, you know what? I think it's a one-way road. That's the problem. I have to remove this road and return it to a two-way road. In fact, I could make it a little boulevard. I could do something like this. And then put my tram right through the middle. And then I will connect it going that way, and I will click over here and connect it going that way. Now all I have to do is put the stops in. And I'm not going to put any stops over here because it just makes everything crowded. So I'm going to skip that part. And I'm going to begin working my way up. And the way I put the stops down is I'm going to put one on one side of the intersection and the opposite stop on the other side of the intersection. And I think that's the way that works best. You can try doing it other ways if you wish. And that means that they will have different coverage areas. And I want to make sure I cover all of these buildings, so I'm going to put stops frequently along the route. There's a red ring which indicates the coverage area, and hopefully there will be no gaps. It's possible that I made some of them too close, but I'm not going to worry about it right now. You can see that there's a building there. Oops, I did this one wrong. You have to be careful when you place the stops. You don't want to place it on the sidewalk. It will be red. It has a red circle because it's invalid. So I'm going to get back to placing stops. There's some buildings that are not going to be in the coverage area, unfortunately. We'll have to pick it up with bus service. And these people, of course, are going to be very, very happy to have tram service. And they will move at the speed of light from one location to another. And as I've said before, I'm not overly concerned with having complete coverage with the tram service because I have so many other forms of transportation, but I do want to cover as many of the buildings that have absolutely no coverage. That's my priority. And connecting people with a bus stop. Right here there's a bus stop, so I'm going to make sure I put a tram stop right next to it, here and here, so that people can switch to the bus if they want to. Obviously, there is an issue with the way the game computes every stop. And what happens is, every time you add a stop, it adds a certain amount of time. Like it'll say it takes 15 seconds or whatever to get from one stop to the next. But it's not based on reality. It's very much a rough estimate. So what happens is, if you place stops that are really close together, the game doesn't know that they're really close together, and when it estimates the time, it might book too many trains for the route. So you have to be careful sometimes as to how many stops you place. That's weird. How did that get there? The game is computing the length of the line, and you might inadvertently make it take longer than it needs to by adding too many stops. And you'll see when you look at the line, when you start plotting your route and you see those intervals, you'll see that some stops that are really close together will have the same interval as stops that are far apart. I'm going to skip that little part over there. This little tiny intersection will just be ignored. Oops, did one wrong. I'm going to delete it. And I hate having to go through all this interface and deleting all these mistakes, but you gotta do it. So again, I'm not concerned about full coverage. There is a gap that I just made. And the reason why is because those people have access to the metro system. I'm sure they'll be happier taking the metro. They're not going to complain. I know that for a fact. Okay. Obviously, I could put another stop here, which would increase some of the coverage, but I'm going to pick those people up with the bus system. I don't want to have way too many stops for my tram, because it could really slow it down. Okay, so we're starting to come back around. Over here I'm going to place it so that it's close to this monorail connection. And it looks like we're back at the beginning, so it's time to actually plan a route. So I'm going to go over here and do create new. And I'm going to start here. And I'm going to add this stop first. And obviously as I add the stops... Oh, I didn't go around the southern tip. Okay, so that was a little mistake that I made. I had wanted to go down into the southern tip to pick up those buildings down there, but I didn't. But that's okay. Small mistake. They'll get picked up by bus service. So as I add each stop, it's going to fill in the coverage area. It'll turn those red buildings into yellow buildings or green buildings. And any gaps, what I can do is I can review the line, and if I think a gap is too big, I could put in another stop. Or I could just make a plan for the bus to go on that route. And here's where they're going to be able to make connections to the bus system. And even to the subway. Almost all the way around. Okay, so We got to go to the tram depot. It says we need 8. I'm going to buy around 10 of the highest capacity, which is, they're sorted by capacity. And then I'm going to add the line going clockwise. So I missed this neighborhood over here. I think it's going to stay missed. Let's add the route going in the opposite direction, because that's going to pick up a lot of the buildings that were missed by the counterclockwise route. When you have a metro station or a monorail, your stations going in both directions are probably going to be right next to each other. But when you build bus stations and tram and other surface road stations, they won't be right next to each other unless you want them to be. You could build it that way, but I really don't recommend it. And I think you'll find the same thing. When you get a long line of vehicles queued up for a stop, that's when you realize that the stop should be near the intersections as much as possible. Okay, so this one picked up a building that I had missed with the other line. Maybe these red ones over here will get picked up also. Yep. And that picked up another building. This is surely going to pick up some of the buildings. That looks like it's right near a subway stop. So over here we have a bunch of buildings I'd like to pick up. Let's see how many we get. It's pretty good. More than I expected. It would be nice to have grabbed these over here, but I have the feeling that they won't be in the coverage area. They'll have to be picked up by the bus system. I could easily just add an extra stop, but I'm going to wait until I finish the route. Okay, so now we've got the second route. I think it makes sense to add an extra stop. So I'm going to put one right here and insert it. You want to make sure it gets inserted, not appended to the end of the route, which could happen. So it should come before number 46. That looks correct. Now I'm going to go to the depot, and we are going to need more. We need 16. I'm going to have to buy maybe 10 more. And there we have it. So after a few minutes, it's going to start showing how many people are waiting for trains, and I might have to make adjustments to get some more trains on the route. We've got this neighborhood here that obviously has no transportation service, and we've got a couple of gaps. Those will be filled in by a bus system. And I have the feeling that I'm going to build a tram line on the east side as well. It was very effective on the west side, and it looks like it's going to be very effective on the east side also. Okay, so I'm going to lay down the tram track for the east side. I will start with this intersection here. And it's going to make a sharp turn to here. It will go to here. We'll go to here. And then to here. And to here. And to here. Normally when I play this game, I have large numbers of trams running on the same lines and it gets very congested. But I'm not going to do that in this game. My layout is going to be a lot more intelligent. The other thing that I usually do is I start by putting bus lines everywhere. And then what happens is when you add tram lines, you get some overlap with bus lines. And then when you add monorails, you get more overlap. And then by the time you add the train system, the metro, you get more overlap. And then what happens is it makes everything less efficient. Who would ride the bus if they could ride the monorail instead? So it looks like over here we're going to have a little problem making that turn. It won't make the turn. The turn over here is too sharp to get from here into here. So I'm going to have to fix that. So this game is a little different. I did not put bus routes down first. I'm going to put them down more near the end. And they're not going to be used to do the heavy hauling. They're just going to be used to fill in the gaps. And I think that's going to make the computer run more smoothly, decrease the chance that I run out of memory. I think people will be happier because they'll all have access to faster transportation, such as the metro, right away. Got a long way to go. So this is one of the tough decisions you have to make. There's a neighborhood there that needs coverage that I'm going to have to skip because I want my trams to have the boulevard. Not that big of a deal. Okay, so I completed the loop with the exception of this upper corner. And there's a couple ways to fix this. The intersection is too sharp. Go to a bus-only road and make a connection. Perhaps like this. I don't know if this will work. It might not work. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. If I take that and go to my tram track, can I make the turn from here to here? Yes, I can. And then go into this road and then into this road. So then I will remove that, and I will remove that, and I will remove that, and I will remove that. And you can see that I used a bus-only road, and then I used this short road that's normally used by regular traffic. Shouldn't be a problem. Now I'll start laying down the stops with the priority to coverage for the areas that are in red. And I will put one here and one here. We're going to go in both directions as I did before. Put one here and one here. In order to have completeness, I'm going to put them over here, which is unfortunate. And I will move them over to here. You want to make sure that the stops are in the center island and not on the sidewalk. They will not be used if they're on the sidewalk. So over here there's an issue where we might lack some coverage. I don't want that to happen. We'll find out when we lay down the route. Because these areas are yellow and green, I'm going to leave a little bit more space between the stops. And I do want the stops to be near the monorail and the subway. And if they're not, I will use my bus system to transport people from one line to the other. It's working out pretty well. Very happy with this route. It's a lot less work when you do the metro first. Otherwise, I'd have trams all over the place and bus lines all over the place, and they're very slow. A lot of people don't like it. So I'm about 3/4 done. This is a little close to the other intersection. However, I want to have complete coverage. And over here I can spread it out a little bit. The ridership in this area will probably be a little bit lower than in the other areas, because I'm sure that people will get on the metro instead. And that's where the turn is, so we should be near the start, and that's where the start is. And I could put a stop right here, for example, if I wanted to. But I think we have enough stops. Oh, sorry. Now, you notice that there is a subway stop right over here. And I do want them to connect with the subway. It's too bad that people weren't closer. I don't know if this is close enough to the subway or not. So just in case, I'm going to put a stop over here, and I'm going to put a stop over here. And that should give me better access to the subway. And maybe I'll remove this one. Okay, so the next thing to do is to decide where the depot is going to go, which could be anywhere. I mean, I could put it right here if I wanted to. I would say the best place, there is no best place. Perhaps I could put it over here in the middle of town. I don't see a place that jumps out at me. Oh, here's a spot. put it right here. So if there's a backup of trams, it's going to be bad. Here's another place where I could put it. We don't want to have a backup. Or I could put it on one of these smaller roads. I could put it over here. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put it over here. And I know it's not a long stretch, but I'm going to use this road over here to queue up the trains. So at least it'll have room for some of the trains. If they're waiting to get into the station, they won't block the main traffic. So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do create new. Close this window. I'm going to start at the depot, and I am going to start working my way around. I guess it did not like that selection. Oh, that's the wrong stop. Okay, got to go here. So we are going to do the counterclockwise. Now keep in mind, trams can go on any road that you want them to go on. They can even go on the pedestrian roads. They can go on expressways if you want. I just happen to put them on boulevards because boulevards were designed for trams. And only trams and trolleys are going to use that center lane. So he's going to bypass any traffic. He'll bypass buses. He'll bypass cars. And you might have a question, can a vehicle pass another vehicle on the same route? The answer is yes. I saw buses on an expressway, and they were on the same route. They had the same route number, and one of the buses passed the other bus. They were in different lanes. So it can happen. One of the issues with trams is that if there is no track, then it will not connect you to the correct stop. So if you try to make a connection to a stop and it doesn't connect, it's possible that there's no track, or the track was not laid properly. You'll also notice that different forms of transportation have different coverage areas. We seem to have missed that one red building over there. So a tram will have a larger coverage area than a bus, and a monorail will have a larger coverage area than a tram, and the subway, metro, will have the largest coverage area. Okay, so we're at the end. There is a crossover. The trains have to cross the path in order to complete the route, which means that if a train is waiting to get in and a train is waiting to get out and they're on the same route, you could have a permanent traffic jam. So that's one of the issues I might have to fix. It's possible that I should... I'm going to have to make an elevated road to prevent that from happening. That's basically the only way to do it. So as I said, if too many trains are going in and they block the road, trains won't be able to go out because the road is blocked. So I'm going to fix it right now. And the way I'm going to fix it is by building a bus-only road. I'm going to make it 2-lane just in case it has an additional use. And you make it go something like this. Let's say it were to go like this. And then you have tram track, which starts at the depot, goes on to this road, goes on to the bus-only road, and then connects to this track. And I'm going to show you what's going to happen. The problem is we have a crossover with this line, and I'm going to remove it. Basically, the crossover is occurring right here at this intersection. And unfortunately, you don't see it right now because it's got to redo the computation. And instead of having the line cross over to the south, what it's going to do is it's going to turn right over here, and it's going to take this new road, which means I have to remove this stop, which is tram stop 68 has to be removed. And now you see the crossover is gone. But I can also add a stop over here. Or maybe I can't. I have no idea. Yeah, I can. I can add a stop over here. And it should insert it. And it did. Okay, so now we have a functioning line with no crossover. And I'm going to go to my depot. It recommends 6 trains. I'm going to buy 10. And then I'm going to add another tram line. Starts at the depot, but it's going to go clockwise. And again, if we have a crossover, don't worry about it. I will make sure it is fixed. All you got to do is go around the block. Crossover is fixed. Or build something like an elevated road for trams only. Before we had some buildings that were missed by the coverage area, and it's possible that as I build clockwise, I might pick up some of those buildings that were missed before. If you zoom out, you can do this a lot faster. Let's see if we can pick up that red building over there. Yep, got it. You can see it's a lot easier when you're zoomed out. And to move this window over here also makes it easier. The page scrolls a lot faster when you're zoomed out. Now, what I could do here is I could go in a block and then return to the boulevard to offer service to the people in this neighborhood that appear in red. But I'm not going to. They're going to have to suffer. We'll offer them bus service, and they'll like it. You can see we still have a healthy amount of traffic on the highway. That's one thing that I always thought would be cool about this game, is if they had an audible system for traffic reports, like listening to the radio. Okay, so there is a crossover over here. And like I said, the way to fix it is to go around the block. We have completed the route, and I will show you how to go around the block. All I got to do is something like this. But it doesn't insert it. That's the problem. It's appending it to the end, and you don't want it to be appended to the end. You want it to be inserted. And there's no way. With the previous version, you could move the stops around, but with this one, you can't. So what I usually do is I literally save the game and reload it and try again, and keep on trying until it lets me insert it where I want it to be. Okay, so let's try tramline 4 once again. Let's see if we can insert this here. No, it's not doing it. What it's trying to do is put it at the end of the line. Actually, that would work. This would end the crossover. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how it ends it. We're going to close all of these red lines, and we're only going to turn on line 4. You can see that the line crosses over right at the entrance there. And we don't want that crossover because it can lead to a permanent traffic jam. So I could put this, go around the block, crossover problem solved. And that's how you do it. Now I'm going to have to wait a while to see. Obviously there's a stop here that's yellow because it's not being used. I have to wait a while to see if we need more trams. And part of the reason why is because people going to the bus stops are not just people who are walking from a building to the bus stop. They're also coming from other places on the map. For example, there is a subway stop right here, and you might have people getting off at the subway who are walking to this stop, which means that they might be coming from all the way across the map, and it takes time for them to walk to their subway station, get on the subway, come to this stop, walk to this stop. You know, all that takes time, which is why you have to wait for them to show up before you can plan exactly how many trains you're going to need. So I'm going to set this to launch every minute, anticipating a lot of usage. And I'm going to do the same for the other tram line, which is tram line 4. I'm going to go to custom, and then the end time will be 11:55. The interval will be 1 minute, and I will click OK. It's also asking for 15 trains. I only have 19. I need 30 total. So I'm going to buy another 15 or so. Now I have enough trains, and they're going to run and make everybody happy. Okay, now as you add more transportation, I added a tram line. It's going to send more people to the monorail, and it's going to send more people to the metro. So you need to recheck those lines because they're probably going to need more trains to run. As you can see over here, we have a stop, Metro Line 2. Metro Line 2 has a lot of people waiting. So it makes sense that another train should run. More trains should run. However, I'm going to wait a little bit, let the game run and shift some people around before I decide if I increase the number of trains on any of the lines. And I'm going to plot a bus route. As you can see, there's a lot of red areas right over here. All those isolated little red spots, I need to fill in support and coverage for those areas, and it's going to be done using the bus system. The bus system is very flexible. You can go any distance you want to get to where you want to go. Okay, the traffic looks good. It's Friday night, which means a lot of people will go to the Opera House. 96 workers. Buckingham Palace, 47. So we have some traffic. It looks backed up over here. And even though it's backed up all that line, as I've said before, you want to go to the beginning of the traffic jam. not to the back, and figure out what's going on. Why are all these people having problems? It looks like the slowdown is this off-ramp over here, right over here. This is where the traffic is starting to back up, right over here, and there's no traffic over here. So some of the options are we could expand this road to make it into a 3-lane road similar to what is next to it, and hope that the people that take the off-ramp will use the right lanes and have more space in the left lanes for anyone who's going to bypass, with the exception of the fact that you've got people that cut across and end up blocking all the lanes. The other option is to make this off-ramp wider. Instead of 2 lanes, I can make it 3 lanes or 4 lanes or 5 lanes, higher capacity, or I could make it longer. It looks like this road here is not being used to its full capacity because it has parking lanes on it, and we don't want parking lanes. So I'm going to remove this road, which is 1, 2, 3, 4 lanes, and put it as a 4-lane road without the parking lanes, like so, which means that they're going to use all 4 of those lanes instead of only 2 of the lanes. So we should see some improvement there. But I think that more is going to have to be done. The question is, why are all these people getting off? And we're going to have to look at each individual car. He's going to a commercial building, Buckingham Palace, Buckingham Palace. You know, you can inspect the cars to see where they're headed to by hovering the mouse over the car. Commercial building, commercial building. I thought I had made a faster route to Buckingham Palace. Oh, I guess I didn't. It doesn't have a faster route, and it only has one transportation system, which is that monorail. Okay, so I think the best thing to do is to try to get another off-ramp that goes to Buckingham Palace. Something that's a little bit more convenient. Obviously, there's an intersection right here that would be really easy to connect to. Perhaps I could take a road, a one-way road, such as this one, and connect it right to there, as is. Use expressway. Put a little bit of a turn into it like that. And you know what? Since a lot of people are going to go to Buckingham Palace, why don't we make it a 2-lane road like that? And that should reduce a lot of the congestion. And as you can see, we've already got one car who has taken the bait. Got a lot of cars coming through. That thing could fill up pretty quick. Yeah, so I'd say about half the cars are taking the new route. Okay, maybe not. So we've got some other cars on this bridge over here that are stopped. And I think one of the solutions is going to be to expand the number of lanes in front of it to a 5-lane road. So this basically will become 5 lanes instead of 4. Hopefully it will work. Sometimes it doesn't. Yep, it worked. So the theory is that the cars that are coming on have a right lane just for them, and the cars that are taking this off-ramp on the left also will have a lane for them. The ones that are taking this off-ramp, I guarantee you they're going to use that lane. But it's still going to cause a traffic jam because they have to do a crossover. They have to cross over the traffic. But hopefully that will alleviate some of the problem. The other solution, very simple, is to make a service road similar to what I have on the other side, so that the through traffic can continue on, and the traffic that's making turns will have some congestion, but it won't prevent the rest of the traffic from moving on. Okay, so I'm going to save the game. This particular game was about setting up the tram service, which I did. I set up 4 tram lines. We're going to go back and take one last look at it to make sure that they're running smoothly. It looks like we could use some more people. I'm sorry, some more trains on this line, for example, tram line 3. But they're going to get picked up in a moment. This one looks like it could use more, tram line 2. And over here, tram line 2, tram line 1. But I think it's working okay. I think all the, oh, look at that. Tram line 2, 124 people. That is crazy. So I'm going to increase the schedule for tram line 2. I'm going to set it to 1 minute. Okay, maybe 1 minute is too fast. We'll try 1.5 minutes. 16. So we need to buy maybe 8 more trains. Okay. So that should alleviate the number of people that are waiting at that particular stop, and all the stops in general. Do we need a tram in the south? My initial impression is yes, and it might be a tram that runs along the river only. That's probably what I'm going to do, is build a circular tram that runs along the river. And the depot will probably be in this area over here. But I think that's going to be a different video. If you have any questions or comments, please post below.